Hey, what's going on, guys? Inferno here, back with another Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires video. And today I have something special for you. Now, there's not going to be any gameplay in this video, unfortunately, because in this video I'm going to be explaining about I'm going to be explaining about the story I made for some of my created characters, and it's called The Three Noble Families. Now, I'd like to thank a certain individual for inspiring me to do this. A YouTuber I watch, his name is Jers. He's done storylines like this for his own character creations, the Saint family and the Kazaguchi family. So thanks, Jers. And also, I like doing these type of stories. I did these back in the old Empires games too. And I'm grateful that I can do it here with a bunch more characters. But anyways, onto the story. First off, we have of the Su family, Sensu is the head of the family. Oh, whoops. I'll go ahead and let you go ahead and take a good look at him. Then you have Lian Shu, his wife. Then the eldest son of the family, Jin Su. Then Ren Su, who is the second eldest, but only by a few seconds because they were literally birthed right next to each other. So they're twins. Then we have Pai Su, who is the eldest daughter in the family. Oop, I skipped one. We have Sai Su, who is the third eldest son. Then you have Jian Su, who is the eldest. I mean, sorry, not the eldest, but the youngest son in the family. Then Nisu, who is the second eldest daughter. And then finally, Mai Su, who is the youngest in the family. Alright, there we go. Then we'll move on to the Rai family. Is Dao Rai, who is the head. Then we have his wife, Liu Nao. Then we have the eldest son in the family, Zhao Rai. Then the eldest daughter in the family, Jiania Rai. The second eldest daughter, Jin Rai. The second eldest son, Zhu Rai. Then the youngest in the family and the youngest daughter, Yu Rai. And finally, the youngest son, Hao Rai. Then move on to the Shu family. We have Hao Shu, the head. And his wife, Bu Fan. Then we have Niu Shu, who is the eldest son. Looks a bit like a certain someone, if you know what I mean. Then we have Ding Shu, the second eldest son. We have Zhu, the third eldest son. His name kind of sounds like Zhu Shu with the sword and hook moveset who's with Liu Bei. Then we have Cheng Shu, the youngest son. Have the eldest daughter, Ji Shu. And then the youngest in the family, Li Shu. Yeah, there's only two daughters in this family. I didn't want it to be exactly the same for each one. Okay, and as you know, well, and as you might see, the Sue family specializes in, in combat. They specialize in blades and the like. The Rai family specializes in martial arts, and the Shu family specializes in spears, lances, and the like. Now there are more characters. There are more characters that go to this story, but we'll deal with that in another video. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the story here. Now the story starts in 165 AD. The parents' origins. The Sensu at the time. Sensu is He's 17 years old and he's a mercenary. Working for other forces, completing bounties. Now, for the next 5 years, he continued to do this so he could increase his fame and make his deeds known to a lot of people, and that's exactly what happened. His allies and his enemies would call him the Platinum Beast because of his platinum hair, or close to platinum hair anyway, and the way he fought in battle, which is almost similar to a beast. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering why the children all have platinum hair, it's because they got the trait from their dad. Okay, now onto Dao Rai, who was at the where is he? Okay, yeah. Dao Rai at this time was actually the leader of a bandit clan, and he was known as the Merciless Raider because whenever he and his bandit clan would raid a village, nothing would be left standing, like not man, woman, or child, or treasure, or whatever. And also he's called Merciless Raider because he's extremely strong too. Now he would continue doing this for the next 5 years until he met his future wife, Liu Nao. Now going on to Hao Zhu and what he was doing at the time. He was 15 years old, and he's in the service of the old Han as a skilled and brave warrior. Even though he's pretty young at the time, his enemies and his allies would call him the Daredevil because he could just charge into enemy formations and come out alive, and he could fight off small armies by himself. It was just crazy. And what he would be doing, he was putting down rebellions that would arise in various lands controlled by the Han. Now he would continue to do this for 5 years until he notices the corruption growing stronger and stronger, and more rebellions are taking place. So eventually he gets sick of all the corruption and everything, and he's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave because this isn't what I want. I want to fight for the people, and the people are not very happy right now. So going back to part 2 of Sensu's story. Now he eventually meets Lian Shu. Now while he's on a contract, and he meets her in the middle of a battle. She was fighting against the enemy forces and was struggling a little bit, so Sensu helped her and fended off the enemy. And he invites her back to where he lives, and they talk for a few days, and they get to know each other. And Sensu comes up with the idea and asks her to be his partner in crime, and that way they could get more money, and they could live together because he was just, at this point, he was in love with her. So Lianju agrees, and they continue doing this. and they continue doing this for over a year. And one day, Lian Shu expresses her desire to one day that she wants to settle down, and eventually get married. And Sensu actually reveals he was thinking the same thing, and immediately right there, he proposes to her. And Lian Shu happily accepts his offer, and they end up getting married. Now I'm going to speed this up a little bit. A few months after they had gotten married, one day Sensu was out on a mission by himself, and he was actually captured. Now, word of this gets back to Lian Shu, and she immediately sets out to look for clues on his whereabouts. Now, she eventually finds him in a rogue soldier encampment, and these were soldiers that had defected from the Han because they couldn't stand the way they were treated, so they decided to start their own trading business. But instead of trading goods and items, they would trade people for the highest bidder. And naturally, they were overjoyed that they had captured the Platinum Beast, so they would be able to get a lot of money off of them. Now, Lian Shu knows that she cannot take all these people by herself, at least not at the moment, but she does recall that it's supposed to be a very windy night tonight, so she waits until night and then initiates her night raid. And with the wind backing her up, she effortlessly slaughters many soldiers on her way to free Sensu. But some of the soldiers retreated in fear of her unusual fighting style. Now, Lian Shu eventually finds Sensu locked up in chains, hungry and tortured a little bit, and she frees him. And just before they're about to make their escape, the leader comes back and starts to fight them. Now Sensu at this point is fighting the leader, while Lian Shu is fighting the rest of the soldiers, who she easily dispatches. And then she notices Sensu struggling because he was hungry and he was still suffering the effects of torture, so he's losing his ground. Now, before the leader of the rogue soldiers is able to deal the finishing blow, Lian Shu leaps in the air and using the wind, she kills the leader. She kills the leader quickly. Now, after that battle, the soldiers who had fled would spread her name around, and she would gain the nickname the Wind Rider because of her ability to fight alongside the wind. Like, she doesn't actually control the wind, she just uses it to enhance her fighting abilities. Now they would continue their daily lives and going on to do more contracts and the like for 5 more years, and they would save their money and amass a small fortune, almost enough to make their own small kingdom. Now going back to Dao Rei's story. This is part 2 of their story. Dao Rei, now while on one of his missions, Dao Rei encounters Liu Nao in a village, and to their surprise, she was actually fighting back against the bandits, and she was actually a pretty skilled fighter. Now Dao Rei confronts her and asks to battle her. Now they battle for a little while, and they're able to fight evenly. But Dao Rei eventually wins in the end and captures Liu Nao. Now when they get back to the camp, Dao Rei wants to keep Liu Nao around, but many of the bandits disagree, saying, Why would you keep someone who just killed many of our men? But Dao Ray shoots down their concerns and says, well, if she does get out of line, I can put her down myself. And sorry, I'm not on the actual character here. Yeah, but if she gets out of line, I can go ahead and put her down myself. So, and she agrees, and she reluctantly agrees to this request on the condition that she does not take part in any of the pillaging, to which Ray accepts. Now, after he would come back from his missions, Ray would always come and talk to Liu Nao, but at first Liu Nao wanted almost nothing to do with him. But he kept talking to her, and eventually she started to understand the kind of man that he is, and what his motives are. So eventually, over time, she would try to convince Ray to try and reform his ways, to quit being the bandit chief, quit being this merciless raider, and stop killing other people and pillaging people, and to just live a normal life. Ray at first refuses this, saying this is the only life he knows. But he eventually, over a few days, he eventually realizes that he's in love with her. So he agrees to her request, and she suggests that, he suggests that they steal the treasures and make their escape and go to lead a new life. So that night they raid the camp, and they kill some of their former comrades, but they're only able to gather around 1/3 of the treasures before they can make their escape. Otherwise, it would have been much harder to escape. So after they trade in their treasures to merchants and all that, they're able to live comfortable lives. Oh, and I almost forgot. Liu Nao also said that she would marry him if he would stop his, reform his ways, and not be abandoned anymore, and that kind of thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. But anyways, a year passes, and the couple start to realize that their funds are running out, and they need more money. So Ray suggests that they try and track down their former comrades and steal the rest of their treasure. But Liu Nao is against this. So So for a while, and she tries to get Ray to back down, but he insists that it's the only way if they're going to have a normal life, and if they're going to have children, that he wants them to have the best life they could possibly have. But still, Liu Nao disagrees. So for a few days, she refuses to talk to him until she realizes it herself, that he's right, that he's right, and that he does want to do this out of the good of his heart. So she reluctantly agrees to his plan, and they start tracking the whereabouts of the clan by the villages they raid, and eventually they're able to find the new encampment that they reside in. So they wait till nightfall and make a night raid, and they kill all the bandits, and they gather the rest of the treasure. But afterwards, Liu Nao makes Ray promise that he won't do anything like this again, and that he won't become a bandit again. He won't pillage money off of other people again, and he won't mercilessly kill other people unless it's needed. Otherwise she would leave him. So Dalray vows that he will never mercilessly kill innocent people again, and not to pillage off of other people for as long as they're together. So now we're going back to Hao Shu's story. This is part 2 of his story. So a few days before he's about to leave the Han forces, he meets Bu Fan, who takes a immediate interest in him because of his reputation for being the daredevil. But since he's trying to leave on his own, he tries to ignore her because he doesn't want her to get caught in his plan. But Bu Fan doesn't give up that easily. Like over the coming days, she would see him often. She would even shadow him. And try to talk to him. So eventually, on the last day, Hao Shu invites her out, and they sit underneath some trees, and they talk for a while, and he reveals to her his plan that he is going to leave the Han forces because of the increasing corruption, and that if it continues, that the Han would eventually collapse. Now Bu Fan initially wants him to stay with her, but Hao Shu refuses, saying that he can't fight for a corrupt nation because that's just not his way. So he takes his leave. So that very same night as Hao Shu's preparing to leave, Bu Fan makes a surprise visit to his room, she tells him that she's a spy sent to observe Hao Shu and his activities, because the other generals had noticed that he was starting to act a little bit suspicious lately. So the officials wanted to know if he was up to anything. So that's why they sent Bu Fan to spy on Hao Shu. Now, hearing this, Hao Shu is shocked. But Bu Fan also reveals that she did not reveal anything relevant to her superiors, and that she would like to go with him. But Hao Shu refuses, saying that he can't protect her at the same time he makes his escape, and also that he's unsure that he can trust her. Bu Fan is saddened by this, but says, if you think you can't trust me, then please go ahead and kill me. So Hao Shu is surprised by this, but he picks up his spear. Although he does try to make the killing blow, he finds he's unable to because somehow he has fallen in love with this woman. So Hao Shu tells her that he'll allow Bu Fan to come with him, but he tells her to go get ready and be prepared in an hour, and to meet him outside the East Castle gates. So she immediately goes prepare, and after 1 hour passes, she makes it outside the castle gates, but she does not see Hao Shu there yet. Like, where could he be? And the patrols are increasing, so she realizes she can't stay for very long. So she waits for about 10 minutes, and she decides he may have been killed. So sadly, she decides to leave until Hao Shu appears right behind her, and she's overjoyed to see him, and they make their escape. Now after this, they lay low for about a week until the Han officials call off their search. But then the couple realizes they're gonna need money. So Hao Shu comes up with the idea of being bodyguards for traders, since it does make some decent money. So they do a bunch of jobs for about half a year, and they make some good money, and they are able to live comfortable lives until until one day they're ambushed by Han soldiers and an unnamed general sent to kill the two for desertion. Now Hao Shu's surprised because he thought that the Han had called off the search months ago, but they haven't. So they fight the general and the soldiers, but Bufan is injured in the battle, and Hao Shu still manages to dispatch all the assassins. But Bufan is injured, so he takes her back to their place and lets her heal for the next few days and stays at her bedside. And during that time, she expresses the desire to want to marry. But Hao Shu says this is a bad idea since they're being constantly hunted, and thinks to himself, will we ever be able to live a normal life, because they might just keep hunting us forever. But then he comes up with a brilliant idea. So on his next job he goes, after he completes it, he tells the traitor to spread his name around about his deeds. So the traitor does exactly that, telling the people that, of his brave deeds, about how he protected the traitors and how kind-hearted he is. And word of this reaches the Han officials, who decide to send more assassins to kill Hao Shu and Bufan. So for the next few days, Hao Shu would wait at night, alone with a night watch, who was out of sight from anyone. But he would hand his weapon over to the night watch and tell the night watch to hide somewhere where nobody would see him. So, and Hao Shu was doing this so he could appear defenseless. That way, the assassins would be lured out and try to take out Hao Shu. So on one of the nights, the assassins appear and try to assassinate Hao Shu. So Hao Shu manages to fend off their attacks for a minute and signals for the night watch to toss him his weapon, and then he's easily able to dispatch 4 of the assassins. Now the final assassin does fight him for a while, putting up a decent fight, but Hao Shu is eventually able to disarm him. But just before he makes the killing blow, Hao Shu tells the assassin that he can live if he does him a favor, and that is to assassinate the Han officials who want him dead, as well as anyone else who wants him dead in the Han. And he also offers up a fourth of his treasure, or fourth of his savings, as a reward. The assassin agrees and tells him he'll be back in a week's time. So after a week has passed, Hao Shu hears news that a lot of the Han officials have been assassinated, as well as a number of generals as well. Hearing this, Hao Shu brings a sign of relief. And the very same night, the assassin would appear before him, and Hao Shu would hand him his reward and send the assassin on his way. And then finally, on the next day, Hao Shu would propose to Bufan, and she would be overjoyed by this. Now that they're able to lead normal lives, so they get married. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the part where the children are born. So in the next 5 years after, I almost forgot the first part of this. The first part of the story is in 165 AD. Then the second part is in 170 AD. So the time these children are born is between 175 AD and 180 AD. But anyways, for Sensu, his Jinsu and Rensu are both born in 175. Paisu is born in 177 AD. Saisu is born in 178. Nisu and Jiansu are born in 179. Then Maisu is finally born in 180 AD. Then for Daorai's children, Zhao Rai is born in 175. Jania is born in 176, Jurai in 177, Jinrai and Haorai in 178, then Yurai in 180. Then Hao Shu's children, Niu Zhu was born in 175 AD, then Ding Zhu was born in 176 AD, then Ji Shu was born in 177 AD, Zhu Shu was born in 178, Cheng Zhu was born in 179, and finally Li Zhu was born in 180 AD. Now you may be wondering, why did Wu Fan have twins? And the reason for that is, as you can see, as you can see from her figure, she looks slender. So if she were to have twins, she would probably die in childbirth. So I decided just to have her birth one child at a time, not just two. So anyway, on to 184 AD. This is the Yellow Turban Rebellion, and during that time, the villages that the three families were living in, they would be assaulted by the Yellow Turbans, and the three families would repel their assault each time, but they eventually get fed up with all these attacks and decide, well, we're going to take the fight to them now, and they suit up for battle against the Yellow Turbans. Now, yeah, and all three of the couples lead their forces and push, and they eventually, along the imperial forces, alongside the likes of Liu Bei, Cao Cao, Sun Jian, He Jin. They push the Yellow Turbans into a corner until finally Zhang Jiao is the only one left. So in the last battle, these three couples meet and they decide to combine their forces until they kill Zhang Jiao. So they eventually reach Zhang Jiao and kill him. And then afterwards, the resistance weakens, and the remnants of the Yellow Turbans are eventually dealt with in a few months. And then the three couples go their separate ways. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead, skip to 189 AD, and at this time, each of the heads of the families has saved up a lot of resources and have a lot of fortune, so they could technically start their own kingdom if they wanted to, because they also have some small influence, however small it may be. But they do have the resources to build a small kingdom. So they eventually decide to bide their time and one day rise up to create their own kingdoms to conquer the land. And so the next part of this story is going to take place in 191 to okay, sorry about that, but anyways, as I was saying, we go to 191 AD. This is after the anti-Dongjua coalition. After the Dongjua coalition had ended, after Dongjua's forces were scattered, and after the alliance had broken up, the major powers were still recovering from their long-fought battle, and they would rise. The major powers were still recovering. So each of the three families decided it was finally time to make their move. So they rose up and started to sweep across the land, eliminating many of the rulers across the land. And soon enough, each of the kingdoms would notice the other two gaining powers. Who are these other two kingdoms who are gaining power as well? So each kingdom decides to send an envoy to each of the other kingdoms, and when the envoys report back, they're surprised to see that it was the people who they had fought against in the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So eventually they decide to call a meeting on neutral ground and choose to form an alliance until all the other rulers were wiped out. So they form an alliance, and they eventually 3 years later, they eventually succeed in their goal in 194 AD and wipe out all the other remaining kingdoms. So now the land is split in three. So So at this point, it was kind of unusual for there to be 3 pieces of land. So they were thinking, now wouldn't we have to fight amongst ourselves? But each of the 3 heads were thinking, I don't really want to break off this alliance because it's been working pretty well. So the 3 meet up again and decide to form a long alliance. You know, for as long as there's peace, you know, I will be your friend. You know, we'll help each other in times of need. You know, in times of need, and even though the land's divided in 3, we can try and coexist. So, and for a time it did work. Like the three families were able to have good relations, and the people were happy across the land, and everything was stable. But unfortunately, this wouldn't last long. So we're going ahead to 197 AD, and during this time, an unknown individual, I won't reveal who he is until later, would start to spread rumors about each of these 3 kingdoms, and this individual would tell each of the heads that the other kingdoms were planning to stab them in the back. So each of the heads are just angered by this, and they call a meeting again. Like all the families are there. The couples don't get along as well this time. They quarrel amongst each other, calling them a bunch of names like, how dare you plan this against me when, you know, when we were family and all this, you know, and the meeting turns up sour, and all three of them decide to break up the alliance that they all had. So now in the coming months, the 3 kingdoms prepare for war, but there are some amongst the families who are lamenting that, you know, I don't want to fight against this kingdom. We were such good friends. But there are also some in the kingdoms that are like, you know, I've been waiting to actually fight these guys ever since we've met them. Like, it's about time. But either way, a great war was about to begin. So that's okay. So that's gonna be it for this part. There's probably still 2 more parts. I'm gonna try and see if I can get the next part up next week sometime, and hopefully you guys can take a look at that too. But I will also show you the scenario that I created for this first part. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I will upload it for you guys in case you want to play through this for yourselves. So, yep, here it is, called the Noble Family War. 3 noble families clash for supremacy in a war-torn land. How will you forge your path against these nations? Alright, so there it is. And I will have that uploaded for you later, and in case you guys in case any of you Dynasty Warriors fans want to play through that. So anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, even though there was no gameplay. Let me know. Let me know what you thought about the story. Did you think it was interesting? Did you think it was just blah? Do you think what do you think could be improved? What do you think could be changed? You know, all that kind of stuff. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.